Hey everybody, I'm Lindsay Adler, and this is a photo deconstruction. In a photo deconstruction, I choose one of my photographs and I show you the pieces that went into making it happen, from the concept to the lighting and some of the post-processing. Now, today I have a very fun shoot for you. It's actually a Vikings themed engagement shoot. And so this is what we came up with. This is a portrait that I took of my friends Ashley and Steve, and I'd actually done a normal portrait of them before. We went out on the streets of New York and we shot, normal clothing, natural light. But then it was time to do something a little bit more fun and a little bit more creative. Now, Ashley is an actress and a model, so she wanted something theatrical. So I was talking to the two of them, and they love the History Channel TV show Vikings. And so I did some research. I went and I looked at some of the promo posters and some the shots from the actual production. And I was inspired by the styling, by the texture of the clothing, the makeup, and by the hair, the way that it looked. And so we were able to create something super dramatic. So I actually want to take you behind the scenes so you can see the lighting that was used and then the post-processing that took us to this point. Now, fundamentally for the styling, working with a good hair and makeup artist helped me get Ashley's look looking amazing. And those are actually just fake hair. It's fake hair that was braided and attached and blended in with her own hair so that we could do something a little bit more over the top. Obviously, the makeup is super cool. But around their necks, we're using faux fur shawls, just fake shawls that were like $10, $12 that we bought on Amazon. So pretty simple styling, but it brought out a little bit of that character. All right, so let's take a look at the behind the scenes. Okay, now, one of the things you'll notice in this behind the scenes is that's not me there taking the photograph. It's actually because this was part of one of my stylized portrait workshops. I had already done their normal engagement session, so I was running a stylized portraiture workshop, and I invited them back to do something a little bit more theatrical. So this is one of the students. So in this photograph, there are 3 strobes, 3 pro photo strobes. Some of them are D1s, some of them are D2s. But let's take a look at the main light first. The main light is to the left-hand side of the frame, and that is an octabox. And you'll notice that I have it pretty far to the left of the subjects there, creating a lot of shadow on their face. This helps make the image more dramatic. This is something called short light position. The shadows fall toward camera, creating drama. However, when there's a lot of shadows falling towards the camera, you usually don't want them to fall to total black, especially if it's meant to be cinematic. I want to see some detail. So that's where the second strobe comes in, and that is the fill light directly behind the photographer there. It's a large umbrella with diffusion, and basically what this does is it uses its power to bring up the shadows, to lighten them up, to have some control. But because it's a soft light source, it won't create a lot of texture on the skin. It's a little bit more quiet and have more control over it. So I've got my octabox as the main light, and then I have my large umbrella with diffusion to bring up the shadows. But then in the back right-hand side there, you can actually see the background light. So it's over here. And the background light is a light with barn doors on it. Barn doors you can open and close to control the spill of the light. And what I decided for this photo that I wanted is that I actually just wanted to have the light lighting the background to the side of the gentleman, to the side of Steve. Because since he was on the shadow side, I knew that he would blend into the background completely if I didn't light it. But I wanted the background to have what I call a checkerboard lighting pattern. If we go back over to the shot, you can see it. It goes shadow, highlight, and then over here, it's shadow, highlight. I wanted to make sure there was some separation. So what I ended up doing for this shot is using the barn door, so you can actually see a bit of a shadow. You can see it on the floor and the bottom a little bit more. Shadow halfway between the subjects. So part of the background was lit, part of it was in shadow. And I will show you how that's done. Do you see this piece of black fabric or black material? That is a background flag. It could be a piece of cardboard. It could be a piece of fabric, actually a flag, which is a frame with black fabric over it. And basically you can put it in the way of the light and cast a shadow. So that's what that one's doing. And you can actually see there's another flag in the shot. If we go back over to the left-hand side of the frame, you see that there is a flag that's casting a shadow on the subject's face. So when I was originally looking at Ashley, the left-hand side of the face and the hair was getting a lot of highlight, and also the ear was looking bright. And so by adding that flag in, it just darkens it down a little bit. And it brings the focus into the subjects instead of pulling it out towards the edges of the frame. Now, real quick, let's talk about the gear that was used in this shot. For my final shot, I used a 70-200 on a Canon 5D Mark IV, and I was shooting at 110 millimeters because it ended up being quite a tight shot of the two. I loved the hair and makeup so much that I decided not to go for a fuller length shot, even though we had all of the interesting details in their styling. I wanted to see more of their expressions. Plus, it's an engagement shot, so I really want to show the close-up of the two of them. And I was shooting at f11, ISO 200, 1/200th of a second. These are pretty standard for my camera settings. By the way, the background that they're on is a hand-painted canvas background from Gravity Backdrops. I want to show you one more angle to show you just another perspective on this. I was mentioning the shadow on the side of the subject's face. You can actually see this flag, all it is a piece of cardboard, is blocking the main light. So it's a little darker on this side of her face. And see how the focus is on the center of both of their faces. So one more time. Here's the flag and the main light. And one more time for that gear. All right, so let's pop back over to the final shot. So I can actually show you where I see each of these images. You can tell that there's a soft light on their face because you can see the Rembrandt light on his cheek. It's soft, so you can tell it's short light because the shadow side of the face is towards camera. It's dark on the side of the face and her hair, so that's how I know that there is a flag, or you could say it was darkened down in post. And then on the far right-hand side, there's some light on the background because otherwise his hair and the side of his neck would just blend into the background and it wouldn't have as much depth or as interest. I also know that there must be some sort of fill light so that there's detail here in the shadow side of his face. So believe it or not, this was pretty close to what was captured in camera, but I did a bit of color grading and bringing out more of the detail. So let me show you the straight raw file of what I captured. So this is without any changes to white balance or contrast or clarity or anything like this. This is the shot straight out of camera. When I look at it, I know that I have the core resources I need there to make something wow, but I need to take it a little bit further in post. So when I'm shooting tethered. I'm shooting tethered into Lightroom or Capture One. And so one of the things I wanted to do is to make this more cinematic was to do a color grade, to change the colors in the photograph. So what I did for this photo is I warmed up the white balance, makes everything warmer in the photo, and I changed the tint, making it a little bit more green. But when I do this, the photo becomes really yellow and it becomes really green. So I then back off on my saturation. I desaturated a little bit. And then I wanted to see all that texture in their skin and on the fur and all of that. So I really popped up the clarity. So this was straight out of camera, but this is what I had in Lightroom. And it is a big difference. That's really just out of the raw file. Before I enter Photoshop, I'm getting most of what I need out of that file. And then in Photoshop, in post-processing, that final step, I got rid of some of the stray hairs. I cleaned up a couple blemishes on the skin, but the Photoshop part was just cleaning up to get that perfect, polished photograph. So this is a really fun portrait shoot. When I shoot portraits, I love to reveal something about the subject, especially with an engagement shoot, something about that couple. So our theme here was the Vikings, and I created an image that I think is worthy of being a Vikings poster. I really hope you've liked this photo deconstruction. I'm Lindsay Adler, and if you'd like to see more, please subscribe to my YouTube channel.